We have great leadership here that understands that one mistake can be our demise. One mistake can bring us all down in a real bad way, and it's not just coming to football. It can create a terrible illness. So I want to dominate when we leave the building. We want to crush this virus. We want to beat this virus into the ground. And I can use those words because it's not on our schedule.
Okay,
that's pretty good.
John Gruden.
He's not disrespecting the
John
opponent. It's not bulletin board
That's
material.
Right. That's right. He doesn't have to say the virus puts its pants on the same way we do,
right,
or whatever it is. Yeah. Here's the bottom line. Winning this year is going to entail so much more than the things that you ordinarily do, because the more guys you can keep healthy as it relates to the virus, the better chance you have to put your best foot forward. And ideally, every team will be able to do it. We don't want any team's best performances to be squandered by the fact that they've been careless when it comes to the virus. But this is part of the effort and part of the reason why, Chris, I believe that there's optimism. Now, we'll see whether the optimism is merited, that the players will do what they need to do to keep themselves clean, to keep themselves from testing positive and not being available to play. The Raiders come in at number 22 on my preseason power rankings. They did finish 7-9 last year. They had flashes.
Yeah.
Right? Remember when they beat the Bears in London? They made us think that maybe there's a way to dig out of this. Yeah, they had a little run there.
Right.
But then it ultimately settled down. And when you consider all the stuff they went through, the Antonio Brown, it was just about a year ago when he had frozen feet.
I was in Cleveland, right? I think
went,
I was doing the training camp tour,
yeah,
and I just happened to say it on one of our segments in the show because I had found out, and then it became news.
It went downhill from there with
right,
the helmet issue, and then he wanted to be cut. He got cut, and the Raiders didn't really have a replacement. They were pinning so much of their hopes to Antonio Brown in their passing game, but they got great performance out of Josh Jacobs, one of their various first-round picks last year, great running back, one of the finalists for Rookie of the Year. And year 3 for John Gruden back with the Raiders, Chris. This kind of feels like, even though you have an excuse for not being very good this year, if that's what happened, this kind of feels like the year that if Gruden's ever going to light that fire, this is the year to light it.
Agreed. I mean, I think they've put themselves at least in a position to, light that proverbial fire like you're talking about finally with their team. I mean, hey, all honesty, he took over a team in a situation, they were crap. They really were. They've had 2 phenomenal off seasons in a row, I would say, in free agency and the draft. Mike Mayock's done a great job there. But, I think the big thing is, you look at that John Gruden, the system. They did some good things last year. Derek Carr certainly seems comfortable. They haven't had weapons around him. Now, what they did do, and what you just mentioned last year, is they got one of the best offensive lines in football. I mean, they got road graders. They got killers. Richie Incognito, Trent Brown, Rodney Hudson at center, still a great center in football. They got the Colton Miller guy at left tackle, the first rounder from a few years ago. So they built something there with Josh Jacobs and protecting Derek Carr. Now they got some receivers this offseason in the draft specifically. So now I think was the chance, at least for the John Gruden offense, we're going to go, okay, let's see what this is all about. Because you got the running game. They got a tight end in Darren Waller that is one of the best tight ends in football. I'm not saying he's George Kittle or Travis Kelce, but he might be the next guy on the list. He's special. So there's something to build off, and that's where I get excited for the Oakland Raiders. I think they're one of those teams where, maybe they go 7-9 or 8-8 or 9-7, but I think it'll be a different look of their team this year and much more exciting, and I'm excited for that.
And remember, this year there's that extra wild card berth in
Yeah.
this conference, 8-8, 9-7. If you're in that territory, you're at least not going to be dead until week 17 as it relates to your postseason.
Just a tough division, we know.
Now, right. Well, and that's the thing. You could be the 4th place team in the AFC West and better than the 3rd place and 2nd place teams in every other division in the conference. But, hey, they better get used to it. With Drew Lock in Denver and Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, and if Justin Herbert pans out for the Chargers, man, it's going to be a long decade or so for the Raiders until they find a franchise quarterback. And they thought they had a franchise quarterback in Derek Carr. They continue to keep Derek Carr, but Mike Mayock, the team's GM, continues to be more candid than any NFL executive that I can ever remember when it comes to saying that the same standard that applies to every other player on the roster applies to the quarterback.
Yeah.
We're always looking for someone better. We're not going to fail to try to upgrade at every position, including quarterback. There's been this sense that they've been looking and wondering and seeing what they could do. Marcus Mariota is in now as a backup, with some thinking that Mariota is going to do to Derek Carr what Ryan Tannehill did to Marcus Mariota last year. You throw all that into a ball, Chris, Derek Carr is getting upset. Here he is from yesterday.
Did I think about opting out? When this thing came up, I did not. I have a lot to prove to myself. I have a lot to prove to my organization. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'm tired of being disrespected. So there was no question I was going to play this year. I'll tell you one thing. In our quarterback group, you have to compete. That's what I do. You guys, anybody who's around me, all I'm going to do is compete. I've had multiple starters in the NFL come in here and be in the same room as me. You can go through the list about who's started games and who's been in our quarterback room. It happens all the time. But when you go 7-9, people like to make up stuff.
Look, it
really bothers him.
Frozen on that face.
It really bothers him, though.
Can I just say this?
Yeah.
Since he's already got me blocked on Twitter, I don't know how old Derek Carr is now. He's got to be getting closer to 30. He's north of 25. He's somewhere in that range between 25 and 30. I don't know at what age it's no longer acceptable to wear the T-shirt where you've gotten your own scissors out and cut out extra material so you can show off even more of your shoulder. Like, I thought that was a 20, 21, 22-year-old thing. I've been there. I've done that, but it was a long time ago. I think the cutoff is probably 24, where you don't do that anymore. I don't know, Chris. What do you think?
Well, I think you're a jerk. I think that's what you are. But, he's wearing that because that's what he wears under his shoulder pads is what I'm guessing. It just feels better. Sometimes as a quarterback, you don't like.
Sure it is.
Well,
sure.
You don't like. I'm sure he likes to show his guns, right?
It is.
He wants to show his guns.
Yeah,
I get
sure
that.
He didn't change his shirt before he showed up for his press conference. This is just what I happen to have on.
I think
They're
it
not
is
in
what he
pads
had
yet.
on. I'm going to stick up for him there. And listen, people rag on him, and I understand he can come off as, dorky at times. I get it. Yes, I've been around him before. He's not as dorky in person as he comes off in interviews at times.
That's good to know.
Well, hey, it is good to know. He's cooler in person.
A low bar.
But you could tell it bothers him.
And here's
why, and that's where he's got to get over it. It's got to stop taking it personal. Just worry about yourself, Derek Carr. You have a lot of talent. You can be the franchise quarterback for a long, long time. And they put some pieces around him this year.
Hey, he's going to be the quarterback of the Raiders as long as he chooses to be. Remember that from last year?
I do remember.
This is the thing. Back when The Office was popular, and it's still popular now, it's arguably more popular than it was, and it was on TV, and it's heading to Peacock first of the year. Michael Scott was just that ultimate awkward, no self-awareness guy. And the saying was, you either know a Michael Scott, and if you don't know a Michael Scott, you are Michael Scott. And I look at Derek Carr, and I think he probably doesn't know a Michael Scott. He's just got that way about him. It's that lack of self-awareness. It's that awkwardness. And it's trying so hard to not be awkward, trying so hard to be cool, trying too hard. And I don't know, maybe with maturity he'll figure it out, but that's just, how do you inspire a locker room full of grown-ass men when you have that element to your personality?
Well, okay, that's a legit question. You're right. It's not maybe the type of personality that's going to rub off in a locker room. He's going to have to do his talking with his work and his play, and which is what most quarterbacks should do. We think quarterbacks are cooler than they are anyways because, hey, they're handsome, they make a lot of money, and we think, whoa, they play cool quarterback. A lot of these guys are dorks, for lack of a better way to say that. A lot of my friends thought I was a dork, especially when I was playing. Your
friends are very perceptive.
Yeah, they are. They're spot on. And I think because of maybe all these things, it's easy to jump on him. I get. And of course, I think he opens that, Pandora's box to be jumped on at times. She comes out and jumps all over him. You know how Pandora is.
Box full of Pandora.
Yeah.
What's in Pandora's box, Chris? That's a box full of Pandora.
But I like Derek Carr's talent. He does have talent. He has a good brain. He processes information. What was the big thing I talked about during our quarterback rankings? He's got to let it loose. And I think maybe that's a little bit of the personality we're seeing that's going over. He's letting the critics worry, dictate his play a little maybe to a degree. Let it go this year, big guy. You got a good arm. Fire it around the field. I don't care if you throw for 79% and the greatest completion percentage ever. You need to make plays to that offense, and he's got the ability to do that. And now with Ruggs and Tyrell Williams and, Darren Waller, and, of course, that run game and other guys they drafted in the draft, you go, it's there for him to do that this year. And I just hope he takes his advantage and kind of lets it loose this year.
And it doesn't help matters at all that you do have a general manager who has
you're
been
exactly
very
right.
candid about his willingness to go find someone better than you.
They opened Pandora's box, Mike. You're exactly right. They opened it.
For Marcus Mariota. Yes. And I feel like what they're trying to do is needle him into being a better quarterback than he is. Like, whatever that element is that we witness where he does seem a little nerdy, a little dorky, a little not self-aware, that they're trying, and they're searching for the button.
Yeah.
And the latest effort to search for the button is to go sign Marcus Mariota and see if that's the thing that finally gets Derek Carr to be the guy that they think he can be. Because that's reality. He's got the potential. He just hasn't gotten full performance out of that potential yet.
No, well, and we saw a little of that potential, early on in his career. What was that, the 2016 season when he got hurt? And, he was in the MVP conversation and all that. But I'll say what the difference was then, too, was he had talent around him there at that point. There was some receivers and some people that, could take advantage of some of his plays. So, maybe that button that they're searching for in that magic way about him, maybe that was just getting some people around him that he felt confident, okay, I can let it loose. We'll see. That's certainly the big question. There's a lot to like on the team, but that's a big question. Defense has been turned around. They did a good job there, but they have playmakers, guys that can change the game on that side of the ball. I don't know, but I do like the direction the Raiders are going.
He was in the MVP conversation in 2016 until the Thursday night game in Kansas City.
Right, that cold game.
And he self-disqualified himself that night. But he was in the conversation that year. He was. And I really do think that, his third season in the NFL, and he makes a splash. If you don't follow that up, you really do set yourself up for criticism because you've declared yourself one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. He was the highest paid player in the NFL for a little sliver of time, I think, until Andrew Luck jumped him, or he jumped Andrew Luck. No, he jumped Andrew Luck, then Matthew Stafford jumped both of them. But there was that period where it was like one domino after another. But for like a month, he was the highest paid player in the NFL. But then when you don't take that to the next level or sustain that, that's when people start jumping on you. And that's when your team starts looking for someone else. And that's what this has been. I feel like they've just been treading water the past couple of years, waiting for someone better than Derek Carr or waiting for a better version of Derek Carr. Either way, they're not happy with where he is right now.
I think that's very fair, what you just said. And I think that's what it is, Mike. It really is. Gruden, John Gruden, listen, I heard this crap when I was playing. He wants quarterbacks that can make plays. He wants guys that can take the pressure off him in the offense at times. That's why, if you've ever listened to him the years when he was doing Monday Night Football, he would drool over guys like Aaron Rodgers and people like that. That's why he was drooling over Kyler Murray in the draft last year, because he's going, damn, I could never call the right play all game wrong, and this guy could probably make some plays and still make my offense look good. That's what he wants from Derek Carr. Pete him a little lightus, right? He has a stat that I think really kind of says a lot about Derek Carr. Derek Carr has the most losses in NFL history with throwing 10-plus passes and not an interception in that game. To me, that is a stat that I love because Pete's listening, but it amplifies what I was trying to say about, yeah, that's great. Completion. You got to make some plays to go win the game every now and then. You got to do something. And when you're, to your point, when you're making $25 million a year and they want you to be that guy, go ahead, start pushing the boundaries a little. Sorry.
But I vividly recall you explaining the way that John Gruden is with his offense. His offense is a Ferrari, and he doesn't want you to scratch it, much less crash it. And is that why? we've seen a conservative Derek Carr because John Gruden has him afraid of his own shadow?
I don't doubt that. I think there is a little of that there too. Yes, John one day could tell you to be careful, don't do this, don't do that, and then the next day he'll be like, hey, cut it loose, big guy. I need you to go out there and make plays today. And yeah, you can get a little bit like, wait, which guy am I dealing with here today? Is this, take care of the ball, Gruden, or be aggressive and make plays, Gruden? And he's going to have to find that fine line. He is. And then at some point, he might just have to mother F John Gruden every now and then, like Rich Gannon used to do. I mean, Rich Gannon used to walk off the field and you'd see 7 swears coming out of his mouth because he's telling him, shut up, you didn't see that coverage, you didn't see that guy in front of me. And I think it'll go a long way when Derek Carr does do something like that with his team and everybody. They're going to be like, oh, woo, look at our quarterback. It really could maybe help him out in the situation.
But I think that's what has been going on for the last 2+ years in Oakland and now Las Vegas, trying to get whatever there is, that fire within Derek Carr, to take over. And at some point, when you've tried everything, when you're out of carrots and you're out of sticks, you just have to say it ain't there, right? That's the test this year for Derek Carr. Is there something inside of him? And we played the video. He's upset.
You could see it, so
fine.
Maybe it's burning a little.
Now show us.
Yeah.
Now show us.
Right.
Now show us. Because if you're not going to show it on the field this year, you're done as the quarterback of the Raiders. Period. And he should embrace this kind of stuff. He shouldn't get mad and go hide in the corner and block people on Twitter. He should stand up and say, screw you, I'm going to show you what I can do.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. Just go out there and show us. And, like we've said, too, I think the exciting thing for Derek Carr and Gruden and everything there is, we've talked about some of the talent, the offensive line, the running back. He can let it loose this year. They're going to have support around him. Gruden's going to put together a good game plan. He'll stay patient with the run game. And they're going to have to win games with their offense this year. That to me is the next step here. Their defense, hey, Corey Littleton, Nick Kwiatkowski in free agency. Yeah, it's great, the draft picks to help their team. But they don't have a guy on their defense where you look at and go, oh, that's a Khalil Mack, or, that's an Aaron Donald. They have nobody that can sway a game that way. And we saw that last year. Their defense was incapable of closing games out in some of these close games. So, Derek Carr, I think, is going to have to push the envelope a little bit this year with offensive explosion and aggressive plays, because I don't think their defense is set up, as young as it is right now and still kind of growing, that's going to win them a whole lot of games.
Look, they have the talent. It's not going to be easy in this division. We just need to see more from Derek Carr, and hopefully that anger that was manifested yesterday becomes the theme, becomes the thing, becomes the device for him to stand up, for him to show the mental toughness, for him to stick it back in people's faces and perform and not get bogged down by worrying about whatever it is that people may be saying and whether or not the team is looking for another quarterback. All right, best case, worst case for the Las Vegas Raiders this year, who will be playing before no fans. They've already announced that at their home games, no fans this year. What's the best outcome?
Well, I don't think realistically I could sit here and think best case the Raiders sneak into a wild card. Not right now. I can't. I think they're a team that I look at as best case, like, a 9-7, 8-8. Maybe a 10-6 team that's on the outside looking in. I don't really look at it that way. I think they're a team that's on the outside looking in, having a chance in December is the best case. Worst case, I don't see a really low floor. I don't know how you feel about it, Mike, but I mean, I would be shocked of anything worse than 7-9 or 6-10. That's about as bad as it gets. But I really think they're a team that will be consistent and flirt with that 8-8 kind of record.
You've got a really tight window, though.
I know. I don't see.
Raiders.
You're right.
And if the floor is where you say it is, they're playing the 4 teams of the NFC South this year. They're playing the 4 teams of the AFC East this year. I could see them be third place in the division, potentially, right? Whether they can overcome the Chargers or the Broncos, that's not going to be easy to do. But I could see third place in the division and 7th seed. I think that's possible. That's the best case. The best case would even be making it to the 6th seed with tiebreakers and whatnot.
Yeah, okay.
Especially with all the uncertainty over COVID-19. But you're setting a floor that puts them in contention into the middle of December.
Yeah.
If you think that the floor is 7-9, 6-10.
Yeah.
Right? Unless they're 3-10 down the stretch, and
Which
they
I
win
don't
3
think
in a
that'll
row
be
to
the
finish
case.
6-10.
Right, yeah.
Right. So they're going to be in that. Remember, that 7th playoff spot is going to put a lot more teams in play for the playoffs than we otherwise would have.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to be in contention for 7 seed, maybe 6 seed, and then they go to the playoffs and they lose in the playoffs and they decide to
as
get
usual
next year.
I hear you there totally. I hear you. As usual, the thing I always look at, right, with the schedule, the conferences they're playing, and I look at the start, and that to me is going to tell us a lot. Going across country to play the Carolina Panthers to start, but then you got to go Saints at home, at the New England Patriots, Buffalo Bills, at the Kansas City Chiefs, bye week, Tommy Boy and the Buccaneers come to town. I mean, that's legit right there. So they're going to have to be on their P's and Q's and ready to go when they hit week 1 and make sure they're ready to run.
Yeah, well, we'll see how they turn out. But definitely not the easiest of divisions for the Las Vegas Raiders, not the easiest of circumstances.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.